There was this man who made movies for a living. Each day at 6:10, he went to work. He'd come home at night around 8:30, give or take an hour. During the time between then and when he would finally fall asleep, he would fill himself up with whatever he needed to continue making movies. He'd listen to music, read, think, go for a walk. When he slept, he would dream that he was back at the studio running around the set cutting actors' throats with a long, sharp razor. Sometimes, just before he would wake up, he would have this dream about 3 shiny black top hats that would tell him jokes and stories that he liked a lot, but he could never remember when he woke up.
Whenever he'd go out to restaurants to eat,
she felt a sudden pull at her ear.
Go out with friends.
Old poetry.
I'm gonna tell you a story of a wicked little girl who perhaps wasn't intended by God to be a true believer. Instead of receiving and accepting the sacred host of Jesus from the hand of the priest as the other little boys and girls, this little girl would mock the mystery of our church, chewing the Holy Communion as if it were a common cracker. In fact, one day, when this wicked little girl received the sacred host, she didn't chew or swallow it, but secreted it from her mouth and hid it in her little patent leather purse. As time went on, this little girl grew up to be the lowest sort of woman. But she kept that defiled sacrilege she had stolen, hidden in a little box she never lost throughout her reckless life. Finally, she had entered the deepest woods her soul could bear, and in a drunken terror, the depravity of this harlot's life became self-evident in a slithering serpent, and she ran to this box, which she laughingly called her box of hope. In her diseased mind, she thought that by accepting and receiving the body of Christ, she would be saved. As she placed the sacrament in her mouth, she bit into the sacred wafer. And do you know, boys and girls, it started to bleed. It left the stains of Jesus' blood on her lips and on her fingers.
The sudden thrust of flight. A flurry of wings. Of a bird in a room. It's my imaginary Irish grandmother. My imaginary Irish grandmother enters the room, speaking German. The sudden thrust of flight and a flurry of wings. There's a bird in the room. My imaginary Irish grandmother is taking cookies from the oven and a dead yellow canary, which she puts in her apron pocket. My imaginary Irish grandmother is sipping blackberry brandy. She's getting silly. My imaginary Irish grandmother takes the dead canary out of her pocket and holds it gently in her hand. She explains the mysteries of life to its cold frame. It comes back years later and returns her gift. It says, there is no death.
There was this really fortunate guy. He was smart, strong, and healthy, full of virtues. Everything he did turned out well. In everyone he met, he found something to give him pleasure. While he was blessed at birth, he was also extremely lucky, so that whenever his native skills and abilities failed him, which was most infrequently, luck would more than see him through. He had several meaningful and mutually satisfactory relationships in his long and prosperous life. The trials and tribulations in his life were undertaken willingly for the benefit of others or for his own pleasure. His results were as good as anyone could do. He died quietly in his sleep while having a pleasant dream about different colored monkeys bringing him little gifts in brightly wrapped packages. He found beauty in people, places, and things where everyone else found none.
A somewhat hypothetical question. If you could get away with murder, would you? Let's say you had the power right at your fingertips to kill whoever you wanted. Maybe someone who's made you angry, someone you hate, someone you think deserves to die. Let's say just by thinking, you could increase the horror and the pain that they would feel. And only they would know who had caused their death. You wouldn't have to tell them why. Let's just say you had that power. Think you'd be able to use it? Watch them die because of your will. If you had the power, would you use it? Just
As a mother, I do wonder how far this thing can go. I have 4 beautiful children, and I have to worry constantly about keeping sex out of the home. It's like it's in the air and it wants to come in through the mailbox, the television, the radio, the newspaper. A teenage boy brings me that newspaper and I always have to rush to see what's in it before anyone gets a hold of it, because the slightest thing can leave an impression that can last a lifetime, and that knowledge puts you on edge with a vigilance that is God's trust in you. And the pressure, it's intense. It's isolating. In the nightmare I have about it, I have finally gotten my husband to agree to take us out to a nice restaurant, a family restaurant. And I've just gotten the little one into his high chair, which isn't so easy to find. It isn't so easy to be accommodated when my 2 eldest are giggling, and I know they're up to something, and I know their father doesn't like that. Here we are in a public place. Well, they're looking at these 2 men. Boys, really, in a booth. And you can just tell they're homosexuals. 2 gay boys. Well, they're men, but they look younger than that. You know the way they do. Well, you can tell that they're gay because of that look, that way about them. There is no malice in my heart, mind you. I have known some gay men. Lovely people. Tragically hurt, but beautiful personalities. And I know these 2 are gay men. I don't know what the women look like. I'm certainly not interested in that. But I have loved those poor men as people. And in the dream they could be any age. But I know they are incredibly young. And they're in their own booth in the restaurant right across from mine, and the 2 children are giggling. What they all look like are spies, really. I mean, it's like they won't take sides. There's a streak of men and women in all of them, and you feel like they're spying on you. You don't know which they are. I'm frightened. I'm trapped. And the children know something is up. One of them is wearing sandals, and he's got 1 foot extended out under the table, out of the sandal. His foot is bare. He's extending it out into the crotch of the other boy, who is pressing his pelvis against it. Don't ask me how I can see it from where I'm sitting. Frozen with fear in this nightmare, but I can see it. I can feel it. I can feel that boy pushing his crotch into that foot, and he leans over the table and they French kiss. Right there in the family restaurant. I know because I can see a tongue holding their mouths together in the spaces between their lips, and I wake up. I wake up to my husband snoring beside me. And what do you think I can tell him? What do you think I can tell him about that?
There's this man who keeps following you. Always he wants to show you pictures you don't want to see. You've seen them before. You know they are real, but still they unsettle you. Your only reward is they are not complete. There's this man who keeps following. This leaves you with a decision that just has to be made. There's this man who keeps following you. Always he wants to show you pictures you don't want to see. You've seen them before. You know they are real, but still they unsettle you. Your only reward is they are not complete. This leaves you with a decision that just has to be made. There's this man who keeps following you. Always he wants to show you pictures you don't want to see. You've seen them before.
God of love, we invoke the greatest blessing on this man who has taken these vows of marriage. God of love,
On the day of my wedding,